we've got a lot of guys who are out, who put in a lot of time, who are at CTF Soledad and other places, and they've garnered a lot of wisdom. And they've done a lot of soul searching, and they've taught a lot of valuable lessons. So we have two groups of men here from CROP, and we'll find out what CROP is. And we also have men from Success Stories. And they're going to have some things to say. And again, they'll be messaging our brothers in blue who are, again, inside and living in increased confinement. How's the space now, Jason?
Oh, the space now? It's a little bit more room. The window in my bedroom is approximately the width of my cell. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
These are the life lessons. Jason, I'm turning it over to you. How long were you incarcerated? The questions we had were, how long were you incarcerated? What's the most memorable experience you had? I think I released these to you a while ago. Just jump in where the water's warm. Speak.
So how long was I incarcerated? I was incarcerated for 20 years and 4 months. I went to prison at 20 years old, and I got out at 41 years old. During that time, I served time in 3 different institutions. Started off at High Desert, level 4. Because of good behavior, worked my way down to a level 3, Old Folsom, which I'm actually just a few miles away from right now. This apartment is only a few miles away from Old Folsom, and spent the last 10 years of my incarceration at CTF Soledad. The most memorable experience I have since being out. There's so many. I mean, it's only been a few months. But for me, there's nothing that comes close to the moments I have with my son and my wife. I've had the incredible good fortune of going to the zoo with my son and just seeing his expression at his firsts, so many of his firsts that I'm actually home to see. Starting to say words. He's saying outside and mama, and these words are coming every day. And it's hard to pinpoint one moment because every day it seems new to me with him as he grows. My wife, the changes in her body. We have another son who's going to be here at the end of August. Watching her, I mean, just suffer at times because it's painful, but at the same time have the joy in her eyes to know that, we're bringing another incredible child into this world together. Those moments by far exceed anything else for me. Right behind that is, my brotherhood with my friends and my colleagues, my family, my extended family sitting next to me. We've had some incredible strides together in this organization that we're building, which is a lot of work, and still found time to fellowship and to love one another and to support one another in our respective challenges, particularly with what's going on in the world today.
Yeah. Hey, Jason, if you don't mind, I'm going to turn it to Richard or Matt, maybe talk about the organization. What is CROP? Can you explain what it is, the origin, what the goals are?
CROP was founded by Ted and his dad over probably 12 or 13 years ago. Ted Gray and his dad. When Ted got to Soledad, he reunited with Jason, and I got to meet him, and Matt got to meet him, and we formed a small team, and we started off by having small meetings, pro-social thinkers inside of the Soledad. I spent 18 years and 2 months inside of Soledad. I had already been there for about 9 years before Ted got there, before Jay got there. And we spent the next 10 years approximately together. And we were able to build an alcohol and drug counseling organization on the inside that certified 30 different alcohol and drug counselors. And so we have some ideas for out here. And I wanna let Jay share a little bit about those because he's far more articulate than I am on there. And I'll come back and share a little bit of my personal narrative.
So like Rich was saying, we've been working together for years. Not just the 4 of us, but a lot of the men you see on the screen from Success Stories. Johnny Howe in particular, he's one of our guys, our certified counselors, doing great work down in LA. But when we got out and we actually had the opportunity to really scale some of the programming that we did inside, our vision has shifted a little bit. So what is CROP? CROP is a nonprofit organization who has the mission of restoring lives. And we do this by having a wraparound program where the inside component focuses on personal leadership development and career development skills. On the outside, we actually will be linking program graduates with sustainable careers, housing, and hard skill training. Our fundamental belief is that transformation is possible, redemption is possible, and we believe that we have a duty to provide these services to our fellow brothers and sisters in blue, because people's lives matter and redemption is possible.
Thank you for that. Richard, are you going to say something?
Well, a couple other questions that you had for our brothers on the inside in Soledad who'll be watching this video. First of all, the other day, Jim shared, I want to say greetings to all of you. I hope you're doing well. I love you. I miss you. Jim shared a quote the other day. They said, every day, collect evidence of hope. And this recording, let it be evidence of hope that after a sentence of 26 to life or 30 something to life, and Ted 40 years to life, and myself 25 years to life, and my brothers from Success Stories hundreds of years to life, and yet here we are on the screen. Here we are sharing our stories, and we're out after 20 years each. I was in for almost 21 years. I lived in Soledad for 18 years and 2 months, longer than I've ever lived in any other place in my life. I only seen the front of it 2 times, the day I went in and the day I left. And I just visited back there to Salinas the other day when we were able to be at Scion's graduation. Never in our wildest dreams did we have the idea that we would be there with Scion and his family and Jim and Mia at Scion's graduation. It was, to me, it's just being free is just miracle after miracle after miracle. My greatest moment was the day that my mom picked me up. And my mom all these years wanted to take me to the ocean, something that she never had the opportunity to do because we grew up really poor. And my mom wanted to take me to the ocean. It was so close by. And I'm a great doggy paddler, but I'm not a great swimmer. I was fully prepared to get in. My mom wanted me to get in the water, but those waves were a little bit too big. I probably would have lost my life the first 30 minutes after being out. So I just let my feet touch it, but I didn't get in. But it was me, my mom, my sister, and we were there. And my mom said, I want you to run. I want you to run on that beach. And it was the first, I did it. She filmed me. Seeing that gate, seeing freedom on the other side, so close yet so far. And then being at the ocean and just have the ability to take off. Like one of the greats, Rocky Balboa out there, just free, and taking off on the beach and hugging my mom. And we just commenced to crying, hugging each other, loving on each other. And it was truly one of the best moments of my life. There's been many, many more since then, but I just wanted to share that one. And don't give up hope to all the brothers on the inside.
You mentioned Johnny Howe, and Johnny Howe doing phenomenal work. You're in Watts, right, Johnny? You want to speak a little bit to the good work you're doing? It's good to see you, brother.
So for me, I was out, got out of prison February 13th, 2018. I had served 28 years and 7 days and 3 hours, not that I'm counting. But so I got out, and within a week, Coach Taylor from Gogi had hired me to work in the mailroom. And then because of the training that I did with Rich and Jay and Matt and Ted, as well as Palma, I went, a partner of ours named Huff, he called me and he's like, hey, they're looking for a certified counselor, looking for a good counselor to come work over here. And I said, I'll let you know if I find one. I'm joking. So what I did was I went, I interviewed, took in my application, and within a month I was hired there. Since being there, it's been an amazing journey. No 2 days are the same. It's extremely valuable because of the work that Crop has done, as well as Success Stories and Palma. Jonathan Barber got out and was hired there at the same time. And some of you know, can't remember his name.
Robert Escobar.
Robert Escobar just got hired Monday at my job. So they're looking for people who are committed to changing lives. They're looking for people who are committed to doing the work out here. And you know, for the gentlemen that are inside, man, there's so many opportunities out here. If you look at success stories, they're doing an amazing job. But the important thing is the work starts in there. You know, don't wait to get out and be like, you know, I think that's one of the misconceptions is everybody's like, I want to get out, but don't know what they want to do when they get out. There's bills and there's relationships and there's families and people are pulling you here to there. And you have to know what you want before you get out. And that's the importance of casting this vision today, if you haven't already. So yeah, I have the opportunity to work in a rehab facility with about 39 patients, clients. Something that happened soon was I had the opportunity to go visit Rich and Jay and Ted and Matt. And on the way home, I got a phone call, and I found out that one of my coworkers had passed away, and they just had his funeral on last Thursday, and me and Jonathan were pallbearers. And something that's really important, because we've had opportunities to go work more money and this, and when we talk about a commitment and what we're here for, the pastor was talking about the gentleman who had passed away. He had completed the program and he was living at the facility. And what happened was I used to be like, man, when are you going to get a place to live and, you know, find somewhere to go? And the pastor had asked him the same question. And what he had told the pastor was, I'm here because I have amends to make. I need to live here and help the gentlemen that are here 24 hours a day. And he had a daughter and grandchildren, but he was committed to living there. And before I close, the one thing that really sewed it up for me was, as far as my commitment to working at this place, is that he has said that, and Rich and everybody has quoted this quote. And he said the two most important times in your life is the day when you were born and the day you find out why you were born. And I know why I was born. So thank you.
Just a quick story, Johnny Howe. I could tell stories, a lot of stories about Johnny Howe. Some of them would make him blush. But one of them is we had the pleasure of going to Homeboys, Father Boyle down there in LA with Johnny Howe. Johnny Howe was walking around, and Johnny he knew a lot of the guys there, and he kept saying, oh, that guy was my cellie, and that guy was my cellie. And I was going, how many cellies did you have over the years? I know Lisa Ling speaks highly of Father Boyle. When she came to Palma and we started talking, she knows everybody. She's so well respected. So all these great connections, right? I only say our only strength in this life really is coalitional. It's the relationships we choose to have with people, right? And I so value this one. So thank you for that. Staying with our brothers in blue, our returning citizens. And by the way, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's the proper vocabulary, returning citizens. Richie, I see you down there. You were snapping because you were hearing some names, I think, of people you know. And you got quite a story, Richie. Success Stories is developing even more stories and a lot of good work. So just speak. Anything you want to say about any of this to your guys inside CTF Soledad, or what it's like, what you're doing right now? I know you're very articulate.
Yeah, thank you. This is really beautiful. Thank you, Jim and Mia, for organizing all of this. The main thing that I would want to say to the brothers who are in Soledad is that anything is possible and you get to create the world that you live in. And that's something I really learned in Soledad, largely from Rich and Jason and Matt and Ted, and so many people really showed me that prison can be whatever we want it to be, just like the world can be whatever we want it to be. And that might feel like trite or corny or like unattainable, but I see it. I see it right now with my eyes. Everybody, I think I was in prison for 7 years, and I think I've done the least amount of time than everybody on here, like less than half. People on this call really raised me and have done things like started programs that have now went statewide, and just amazing things, amazing feats from prison. And those things can continue to happen. I think every single one of us who are out right now are out due to some law change that we also fought to make a reality. It's laws that keep people in prison, and laws are written by people, and we have power even from prison to change those laws and try to build a more just world. What Success Stories does, I feel like if you're at Central, I would hope you know what Success Stories does, but so we really see ourselves as an alternative to incarceration. I know for myself, the reason why I was committing so much harm in my community when I was a teenager is because I thought that's what a real man did. And Success Stories is a place where we can have those conversations about masculinity that often lead to us having that harmful behavior. And we deeply believe and see and have proven that those conversations don't need to happen in prisons where people are being held at gunpoint against their will, but rather we just need to have the conversation, and that the justice is really healing those who are harmed and transforming the behavior of those who have done harm, not locking up and torturing people. So that's what Success Stories exist to do and to bring to the world. Since I got out, we've been able to spread into 3 more prisons, a county jail, a bunch of reentry facilities. Manny would have to tell you, I don't even know how many, and have graduated over 800 people. And we're going to continue to have these conversations and hopefully one day be a replacement to the prison system where we can just get straight to the issue and change the behavior.
Powerfully said. Thank you, Richie. I want to give Hugo a chance to speak, or Manny or Graham. These are all success story guys too. So any of you want to add anything? Or
Hi, everybody. My name is Manny. I spent 15 years, 5 months in prison. I was incarcerated at the age of 22. And I met all these amazing gentlemen that you guys see on the screen at Soledad. I had already had a pretty transformational experience. I had the opportunity to be at a place called Ironwood, which was a level 3 at the time. But the transition and the shift that these men created in my life is unmatched. I was challenged a lot. I was told that I wasn't, being the leader that they knew I could be. And I believe it was Rich at one point that just told me, look, you're not doing enough. And that's the love that, like, when we're talking about like community and responsibility and stuff like that, like that is the love that we really need with one another, because it pushes us to be our best selves, which made it possible. So like when we're talking about, especially for our brothers in blue, if they get the opportunity to see this, I remember that what struck me a lot when I was in prison and I was involved in, whether it was college or whether it was, success stories or whether it was Phoenix Alliance, like people would always ask me, like, why are you doing that? Like, why do you take this group? In terms of success stories, when here it is, we're challenging, harmful gender behaviors and talking to men about how they may be holding them back from being their best selves. And they're like, bro, cut it out. I know, because I was one of those people, right? Like what begins to happen is you start to discover aspects of yourself that, one, need healing that you would have never found before, but two, the things that you're capable of. So for the brothers in blue who are asking why, this is why. It was those steps, it was that healing, it was that transformation that gave us the opportunity to be home with our families much earlier than we ever thought we would have the opportunity to do so. Because without taking those steps, without being a part of those communities, without being a part of transformative conversations, like we just would have been caught up in the cycles of all the things that had caused harm in our lives before, or maybe even just standing on the sidelines and maybe not caught up but not making any true change. And therefore we haven't given ourselves the opportunity to be here on the here and now. So this is the why. Mia always likes to remind me that one of the things that stood out to her when we used to have our group with Palma was, when I was with Palma, those were the times inside that I felt most human. I think that every day now that I realize that I am not a result of what I've done, but I am who I am because, I have certain inalienable rights that God had just given me from the day that I was born. And I feel all of those now that I'm out in freedom. But the one that stands out the most was, of course, when I found out my wife was pregnant and we were having a baby girl. That for so long, there were things that I just allowed myself to believe about when I was incarcerated, and having children was just a dream that I gave up. Like, I just accepted the fact that I would never have the opportunity to be a father. So when she told me she was pregnant, it was just like full circle. And I felt like God was just telling me, like, look, stop telling me what's possible and I'm going to show you what it is. And I feel like I've had so many of those opportunities being around men, being around these men, and being around, me, and being around Palma. Like, every time that I thought, and being involved in success stories and crop and all that, every time that I thought this isn't possible, I was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was wrong. And this is, and I'll close on this. Many of us have found purpose in realizing that we can come together as community and heal community. When you look at what Crop is doing, when you look at what Palma is doing, and when you look at what Success Stories is doing, all we're doing is using community to help community. Like, that's what we're doing. We're not seeing ourselves as outside of the problem or separated in some way, which we do too often in our general populations or whatever. We see ourselves as outside the problem, and we're not doing that. What we're doing is we recognize that we're a community and we have the power to shift and change community, and I'll be forever grateful for that. So I love all of you guys, and I'm so thankful to be here with you.
And you gave me a lot of golden moments, and you gave our students moments that I could not give my students. And one of them is the ability to emote, to show feeling, right? A lot of parables happen when we go inside CTF. Things unexpected just kind of happen, right? Because the Spirit's there. And one of the quotes we had one time that came up was, sorrow's like a precious treasure shown only to friends. And I think that's an African proverb. There's another one, I think maybe even joy is a precious treasure we show to friends. But the authentic feeling conveyed in authentic community really speaks. The other word you use is transformation. It comes up a lot. I know when Lisa and Francis and William came out here, they said, we really want to try to capture the arc of transformation. So one thing that always speaks to me as an educator is the moment when transformation arrives. What's the epiphany? What's the breakthrough? What's the moment when you feel loved and you want to kind of crack it open and share that love with others and let life really happen, And that's some of the deep magic, I think, of forming authentic community, is that the possibilities of that happening. So I thank you for that. I want to ask if a couple other success story guys wanted to share. Hugo, did you want to say something? Someone else is ready to say something.
Yeah. First of all, I just want to say, like, I'm happy to be here. I grew up in prison. I was incarcerated when I was 16 years old. I was in prison for 18 years and 6 months. I grew up in prison, and while living out here in the streets, I would look up to people, the people that I grew up with, the people that lived around my block, the people that lived in my neighborhood. And it shifted to looking up to people that I grew up with in prison. And that changed. During my time, that changed because I wasn't always in a prison like Soledad. I started off in Salinas Valley, then I went to Centinela, then I went to Soledad. But I always looked up to certain people. And it's an amazing thing to be able to know that the people that I was with helped me be and helped me mold me into the man that I am today. And I'm grateful for that. I'll never forget the people that I met. But more importantly, I'll never forget the family that was created while we were in Soledad. And the trippy part about it is that prison was usually this place where people talk bad about the people that are inside. But Soledad in itself was a prison that was bringing people in. People would just flood that prison, and they just wanted to know what was happening, and they were asking for help, whether it was We Care, whether it was Phoenix Alliance. Things were always happening in different rooms throughout the prison. And it was just a beautiful thing. It became a college or a university that was just preparing me for the real world. So I got out after 18 and a half years. The governor commuted my sentence. And I know a lot of times, it's just loosely said that it's because of the law or it's because of who may have helped you. But more than anything else, I strongly agree with what Manny said. Before anything else, we actually prepared ourselves. We actually were able to do something to prepare ourselves in being in the positions that we're in, either then and now. And again, I'm grateful. I can't even say that I did it alone, because I didn't. And I'm also thankful for you, Jim, and everyone else that would walk in and make it feel different. For that moment while we were in the gym, like, it did not feel like prison, whether it was a concert going on or whether it was something strong. And something memorable that I could think of that happened while I was in there was actually seeing Sai for the first day, and then like saying, like, man, like, we're actually like all doing this. And it felt like we were doing something greater than ourselves, and like we weren't in prison. And it was proof that we could do whatever it is that we want to do. And as far as out here, like, watching my son, who I've never spent one whole day with, like, watching him sleep, like, I just, that was like, I couldn't believe that. I couldn't believe that I was actually out here, and I was watching, like, my son sleep. That is amazing, and that surpasses anything else that I've been through. Not to like cut short the fact that I'm grateful for being able to work with friends, with brothers that I not only grew into knowing, but grew into loving in many different ways. And that goes for everyone in the screen. Like, there's been a point in time where I've called everyone in the screen at one point or another, for some help or for some advice. And my Soledad brothers, that's for sure.
Mm,
Thank you.
thank you. It's quite a gift you gave us. Thank you. Graham, did you want to add something? Success story?
Sure. Absolutely, I'd love to. So my name's Graham. So I did 14 years and 2 months, and I had a determinate sentence. I came to Soledad on an adverse transfer. I got kicked out of the prison I was at before. I did, in that 14 years, I've been to 7 prisons. I constantly was in trouble in all of the prisons, and I got to Soledad, and it was not a place I wanted to be, right? Like, these weren't my people. That's how I felt. Like, these aren't my people. These people are going to groups all day long, and talking about getting home. I guess I say all that to say, like, going home was not like my focus when I got to Soledad. I did 4 years at Soledad, and through a series of hard falls and lumps that I took, like, I was able to realize I made some really strong friendships, and I was able to realize that going home was a thing that I wanted. And specifically Phoenix Alliance and Quest, like, that was the group where I was able to find some purpose. Richie was actually my facilitator in Phoenix Alliance for the first cycle that I went through. I was introduced to Phoenix Alliance while Matt and Johnny were my facilitators in another Phoenix Alliance group, 50-50, 2020 mindset, actually. And so I started trying to view things differently and through a different lens than what I was, what I'd become accustomed to. And, like, over the course of 2 years, I was able to get into every group and get involved in all of the work. The first positive thing that I'd done, I think probably in a long time, if not in my whole life, was like fundraising for Sai. Like, that was a really transformative experience for me. I had the opportunity to give back to someone in the community that I had been taking from for a very long time. So, like, being able to do those things in Soledad and look to all of the people that are on this call, like, as my mentors. Like, I would go to them and I'd walk laps with them on the yard and ask them for advice. That goes from everybody from Matt and Rich to Manny to Hugo. Every single person, we'd spin laps and talk about what we wanted out of life and what we were going to do when we went home. To actually be doing that, like, right now, like, in real time, is probably the greatest experience of my life. So I got out, and if I was to pinpoint something that I got to do since I came home, it would be going back in. So Manny and Richie and I got to go back into Soledad and see everybody that we've been working with. The last time I saw Jay was at the table eating a peanut butter pack, having a conversation. So that was the last time I saw Jay. Seeing you right now, we've talked, but I mean, it's cool to see you in free clothes and doing it. So I'm super grateful for everybody inside. Like, I parrot everything everybody said. Anything is possible. Like, you create your reality. Those are tools that we've learned through all the groups that we worked in and helped facilitate and created in prison. And that's what we're doing out here. And like, I mean, stay committed and work to it. Find what you're committed to. That's all I got to say.
Nice understatement there. That's all I got to say. That was a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Thank you, Graham.
I'm going to turn this over to some students here in a second, invite some other people, and I might play teacher and just kind of cold call on people. If you're not prepared to kind of speak, It's fine. You get a pass, right? But I'm going to kind of exercise that right to call on some people, particularly some students and some alums, and kind of get their take on, what stayed with them. What was that transformative something that they walked away with from exercises in empathy and going inside and spending time with their brothers in blue? Brother Michael here, you can kind of see he's a little blurry on my box, but you see the man up there with all the books? You guys see that little box up there? Michael, can you wave? And Michael, you're in Canada, right?
Ontario, Canada.
Ontario, Canada. The reason I'm calling you, Michael, is because it doesn't surprise me you've got all those books. He has been this angel of guidance through everything. He's very passionate about restorative justice. On almost a near daily basis, he sends me articles and leads on restorative justice throughout the world. He's really a wealth of knowledge. He's been a phenomenal support. He's a deep part of the Blessed Edmund Rice story, our founder, and it's kind of cool. Edmund Rice comes out of Ireland 2 centuries ago, and he and the first Christian brothers used to walk with men to the gallows, right? The English oppressing the Irish were outlawed, faith was outlawed, people were hanging, and they would walk with men in prayer to the gallows. And here we are a couple of centuries later, Blessed Edmund Rice charism, and because of the hard work of Manny and Jason and you guys who are out now, and the brothers in blue, right, we're walking away from the gallows, literally and figuratively. And I think that's a wonderful kind of legacy. But I wanted to thank you, Michael, for your wisdom there. And it doesn't surprise me to see all those books. We're going to come back to the books here in a minute. But Michael, did you want to say anything right now before I start calling on some others?
Nothing except that this is a very impressive arrangement. I've been working in justice for about 30 years in advocacy, and I have there's nothing I know of that quite compares with this. And I think the movement towards actually asking people who have experienced the worst our society has to offer to articulate that and to formulate it and to live by alternate principles, I think this is a very powerful movement. Powerful to influence perhaps even the end of prisons.
All right, I appreciate that. Brother Kevin.
This is my first experience with the people in this group, Brothers in Blue, is a beautiful statement. I'm in awe at the depth of the humanity and the spirituality of each of the individuals who have spoken to this point. In all of our schools across North America, Palma being one example, we teach all of our students that all people are created in the likeness and the image of God. And this experience today, each of you gives witness to that, powerful, powerful witness to it. So on behalf of all of our Christian brothers, a different kind of brothers in blue, if you will, thank you for sharing your experience with us today. And Jim and Mia, the work that you've done in bringing this together has always been something that we've tried to highlight in the publications that we put out from the province, because it's fantastic work that you do in bringing it together. So I know Sean D'Alfonso, who's our advocacy coordinator, and myself are greatly appreciative that you've invited us to be part of this experience today, albeit from a distance of 3,000 miles for us. So thank you.
Doesn't feel like 3,000 miles, brother. Thank you. You made it a whole lot closer. Let me call on some students now. I do want to be respectful of time, and boy, I would love to have everybody speak if we could. But I do want to get some student reaction here. So let's see. Let me start with one of our students, Nicotoni, graduated from Palma a few years back and just graduated from Notre Dame University. He was one of the pioneers, one of the first student groups we took inside. He was responsible for a little booklet we put out. Johnny Howe and some will remember. It was called Brokenness and Blessings. It was about father-son relationships. That really came from Nicotoni. Mark Beach and some others worked very hard on that. But Nicotoni, would you speak to what the takeaway was for you? And then maybe if in any way, shape, or form this shaped your study at Notre Dame University and or the graduate studies you're headed off to do?
So thanks, Jim. I started my work with Soledad 6 years ago, and it's really good to see Johnny again. It's good to see some people again. In terms of how this has affected me, it really shifted how I thought about things. It's shifted me from questions of what and who to questions of why and how. Like, how do we ask people to take accountability when a person has harmed another person? How do we make sure that that person remains an integral part of his community? Why is the inequality that we see in our nation reflected so severely in our prisons? And those are the kinds of questions that pushed me to pursue the PhD program at Yale this next year, in the next 5 years, in American politics, because I want to figure out these kinds of policy questions. I want to figure out why people think the way they do about crime, why people think the way they do about racial politics in America and economic inequality. It's really been a life-changing experience. I can say pretty definitively that if I hadn't met the men at the time that I went, we were mostly working with Life Cycle. If I hadn't met the men in Life Cycle, I wouldn't have, for instance, been as involved with the kind of service at Notre Dame. And I actually took a course at Notre Dame in the Westville Correctional Facility about prisons and restorative justice, and found that really inspiring as well. I am always constantly impressed with how this relationship has matured and blossomed. I remember coming back, I believe it was 3 years ago, with the Phoenix Alliance awarding the scholarship to Cy, and I was just overwhelmed and incredibly impressed by that effort. And it's affected me a lot, and I'm really overjoyed to see it continue and mature in different directions.
Nick, you're kind of a slacker. PhD at Yale. I think we're gonna have to talk about that. Good work, brother. Jacob Haas, another graduate from college, Purdue. Jacob, the card's in the mail, by the way. Anyway, Jacob, you want to speak to an experience you had or some staying power from the program?
Yeah. Well, sorry, I was a little late to the party, but it's good to see everyone. And, there's some new faces and some faces I have seen many times before, but it's good to see everyone. I think I started going around my sophomore year, and I just felt it was such an amazing experience for me, because just to meet all these guys like Johnny, it's good to see you. Even though you're wearing a Dodgers shirt. But it was just a total new experience for me that I will remember forever. And it was just so powerful to be there. And I took so much out of it. And, I trying to find the words for it, but after I left, I just kept on wanting to go back and see the guys. And my mom, she kept on going, and she'd always tell me how the guys were, and I'd ask about them. And it was fun. College was great coming to, but it was I was a little bummed out that I couldn't couldn't go back and see all the guys and see how much they have changed over the time you guys spent with them. So
Thank you for that, Jacob. Let me call
Jacob, I
on.
changed shirts for you.
Oh, go ahead.
oh, what was that?
Jacob, I changed shirts for him.
All right, thanks. Good to see you, Johnny.
Let's call on Jack Bush. Jack, just graduated from Palma. Congratulations again. And give us something, Jack. You were incredibly involved. A lot of visits there, very dedicated. You and the Fun Bunch, we call them the Fab Five, the guys who would always kind of hang out in the campus ministry, sign up for everything, and really have a great legacy. You'll always be part of this school, and you'll always be welcome back. But Jack Bush, tell us, give us some takeaways for you from going in.
Yeah, so thank you. When I first started visiting CTF Soledad, my sophomore or junior year, I think, I believed that I was going to help the men on the inside, but I quickly learned after my first visit that the men on the inside were there to help me just as much as I was there to help them. And I learned that I cannot define someone simply based on their worst actions, but I instead have to look at who they are as a human being as a whole. While I've been taught so many other life-changing philosophies every single time that I've gone into prison, one of the most important things that I learned, one of my favorite quotes that Mr. James Willock brought up was, "I must be the change that I wish to see in the world." And that's a quote by Gandhi. And that's one of my favorite quotes. I use it all the time. It's on my social media profiles and everything. So that's really stuck with me. And thanks to all the men inside, I've really learned what it means to exercise empathy, because I didn't really know what it meant before, but now I know that it's your pain in my heart. And then one more thing I wanted to do was to continue my tradition of sharing my Motivational Monday with everybody. For those of you that don't know, I post a quote every day, or not every day, every Monday to help inspire people. And when we were going inside to CTF, I was sharing that quote with all the guys. And last time I shared a Star Wars quote, so I figured I'd share another one. This one is by Qui-Gon Jinn. It reads, "Master Yoda says that I should be mindful of the future, but not at the expense of the moment." And I feel that really just wraps up all that we do inside, and just you're always right there leaning in and just fully involved in the moment. So
Yeah, right. Thanks, Jack. The world is very now, brother. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. I'm going to kind of speed up a little bit because I'd like to hear some more voices, mindful of the time. Boy, I wish everyone could get a chance to speak. Jacob, I need to call on you. Can you give us a pithy, powerful something, a takeaway, Jacob?
Yeah, I think I have to go along the same lines as Jack, but going into the prisons or the prison and just being able to judge people based on who they are and not their actions, humanizing all you guys in Soledad helped me humanize all prisoners and then everyone I meet. I'll never forget that going into the prison for the first time, I was super nervous because I was always brought up by my mom who would scare me straight, like, "Oh, you don't want to go into the prisons. They're horrible places and the people are really scary." And then like in movies, they always portrayed prisoners as just being these really scary people. So going in the first time, I was really nervous, but I'll never forget going into family number 5 my first time and seeing my man Jeff was awesome because he just came up to me and he shook my hand. He asked who I was. I said, "I'm Jacob. I'm a senior at Palma." He's like, "What? You're a senior? No way. You look like a freshman." And we had a good laugh about it. And that just really, at that moment, all my nerves went away. And I just realized that these are just people. Like there's no other way to put it. These are my fellow brothers of the world. And that just made me feel so much more comfortable, and it made it easy to share about who I am and learn, and it was just great. So thank you.
Thank you for that, Jacob. Thank you. Sai, I'm just looking at my screens, and I know your name has come up a lot, Sai, and I'll never forget when Jason kind of outed you in the chapel about the scholarship a little bit. And you looked over and you gave him a smile, and I think you need to say something, Si. What do you have for us?
I'm definitely thankful for the Brothers in Blue. Of course, the monetary things they did for me, but I think the bigger gift is all the life lessons they gave me. More so like how to manage my time. Coming in my sophomore year, I wasn't the best at doing that. Didn't have the best study habits, but over the next 3 years, they poured into me and really gave me a lot of knowledge and again, life lessons that I can take with me forever and throughout my day-to-day life. Thankful for that.
Si, when you're around, you're going to go back in with us, right?
Yeah, I will.
Good. Hey, because I think one thing, and Crop or success story guys, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's the relationship piece. I think you guys read that as sincere, that we're trying to enter into a relationship here. Inside, outside, it's got to last, right? There's got to be trust, and trust takes time. And it takes a lot of compassionate listening. Thank you for that side. A couple other people I just wanted to maybe just kind of call on, and they don't know I'm going to do this, but Rene Barnes, you have a long history with a lot of the men here, and you can speak to things we can't. Would you like to add a little something?
I would just like to thank you for going into the prison, and transformation is one of the most difficult things anybody could ever do. I've not transformed to the point that these gentlemen have. And letting the community know and involving the community is one of the biggest assets that can be made. In the prison, there are men that are just like the ones that you see here, who want to transform, who want to come out and give. And providing the community the opportunity to see that maybe more communication can go between the prison and between community, so that transformational programs can thrive there. These gentlemen are incredible. There's a great deal of potential in the prison that's ready to be developed, and this is just the beginning. So thank you for doing this.
Thank you. You know, when we're inside, your name comes up often. You've won the respect of people at CTF Soledad, guard, population there, Brothers in Blue. Everyone speaks very highly of you. And so it was really an honor when you came, when Jason and Alfredo Ortega spoke in our chapel. I'm so glad you were there that day. Thank you. I do need to recognize something pretty exceptional that happened to us when Lisa Ling and This Is Life entered our lives here at Palma for a couple of weeks. It was extraordinary. And Lisa Ling, I doubt she weighs 100 pounds, but she's like dynamite. Very strong person with great ideas. And it's amazing what sitting down, talking to her, where it goes. She has that uncanny ability to be profound and simple at the same time. I have yet to master that. I don't know if I ever will, but she clearly has. And I'd like her to maybe speak to this relationship and her ongoing work. She's been in, I think, 14 or 15 prisons. Lisa, can you add something?
Yeah, thanks, Jim and Mia, for inviting me to be part of this. Last year, before COVID really got rooted in this country, my team and I got an opportunity to go into the prison to shoot an episode about the scholarship program and about exercises in empathy. And I've been around for a long time. I've visited a lot of prisons. I've worked on so many different kinds of stories, but the experience that I had inside CTF with so many of the people who are on this call right now was one of the most profoundly moving experiences that I've ever had. I've become such good friends with Jason Bryant. I call him now probably more than he likes me to call him. Anytime I have a criminal justice issue that I want to talk about, I'm blowing up his phone. So Jason, thank you for indulging me on that. But look, right now we are experiencing something in the world and in this country unlike anything we have experienced before. These are, I think, the most defining moments of our lives. And what happens in exercises in empathy, to me, is almost like an antidote to what is happening in the world, because we are existing in so many ways in these bubbles where one side doesn't communicate with another. And as a result of that, this tension has just been brewing. And we have reached a point in our culture right now where hostility is the norm, where this tension is just, it has been simmering beneath the surface and is now erupting. And what I was able to observe in Exercises in Empathy, by bringing people whose worlds couldn't be more different together to share, to study literature, to communicate, to look in each other's eyes, to be part of a family, was I think, what the world needs now more than ever. That opportunity to just come together and understand one another as fellow humans. You know, I think that that's something that has become lost in everything that's happening, recognizing the fact that this person who you may differ with ideologically or share, you know, have a different value system, is still a human being, and is the reason why he or she is the way they are because of their set of experiences. And we've gotten away from trying to understand what those experiences are, because once you take the time to listen to people and hear about their life story, it's almost inevitable that you come away feeling differently and more compassion. And so I hope that this program is something that can continue. I hope that you men who are still inside the facility, if you can get access to it, please try to do so. I know the Phoenix Alliance is still very active inside CTF. If you can try to attend some of those meetings, you know, you see from the men who have spent time inside CTF and other prisons, like how they're just flourishing out in the I shouldn't say the real world, but outside of prisons, and how they have this desire to help so many of the people who are still inside, to not only be able to flourish inside, but also when you all get an opportunity to get out. So I just want to thank you all for allowing me to have the experience of being part of Exercises in Empathy. And I wish all of you who are still inside, I wish for you hope and peace and an opportunity to experience a different kind of life.
Wow, thank you for that, Lisa. Thank you. Francis, do you want to add something?
I'm just very grateful that I get to be here and get to meet, you know, have spent time with some of you, and I hope to meet some of you in the future.
You will for sure, Francis. Thank you. So anyways, a couple last things. We're going to wind up now, but I did want to do, you know, leaders are readers. Leaders are readers, right? And a big part of this is the books we read inside. And now with shelter in place, we have more time to read, right? So I want to hold up just a couple of things. First of all, I have to hold up this. This is our Men Built for Others book that many of the men here have contributed to, put this together. You see Ted Gray, Richard Morellis, Jason Bryant, Matthew Braden, they're all in the house. The sales of this book go to, well, they scholarship Psy, and this is still going to happen. So when this book is sold, Palma gets the donation so that we can continue programs like this and grow. So it's compelling. I've been buying class sets of it, using it in class. Talk about transformation. This really gives the specifics of transformation, information to transformation. So this text right here, I highly recommend. Okay, another one here, and not just, this isn't a kiss up, but it's a really good, Lisa Ling's book. Lisa Ling's book, Somewhere Inside. I didn't even know this about Lisa. I meet Lisa Ling and find out that, talk about incarceration, her sister was in North Korea, and she had to basically rally the world to get her out. This is a really good text. I'm really considering using this in class next year. So thank you for your work on this, Lisa. I wanted to hold this up as well. And then just a couple others. This is, can you see that? Art from the Inside. These guys, our CTF Brothers in Blue, created this art book, and the proceeds for this bought backpacks and school supplies for kids. So I'm not sure if it was Jason or Manny, someone was talking about, don't wait to get out of prison to do good things. These are guys who are raising significant sums of money while inside, right? Phoenix Alliance, over $32,000 donated to Palma School while inside. One of the greatest days of my life was when Mia and I wrote 270 thank you letters to men inside. Some of them donating 50 cents, some $1, and some of these guys only making pennies on the hour in prison jobs, right? And they were able to come up with some terrific sums. So anyways, the artwork here is beautiful. We know these artists here. This one's called, again, Art from the Inside. And then, I'll be fast. There's another one like that. How to be an anti-racist. Really good. I really like this guy. And he's got another book out as well, but this one I think is incredibly powerful. So Sean, I know you're watching out there working on your thesis and you've been sending out good lists of reads, but this book is really powerful. I love that term of being an anti-racist. You can't say you're not a racist, you need to be an anti-racist. Articulates that very well in this book. And then one thing I wanted to leave people with is, and then I don't want to have the last word. I want one of our returning citizens to have the last word. But what I want to say is this: Mia and I, courtesy of Palma and the Christian Brothers, we were both trained at the United Nations in human rights. It was powerful. We also had a chance to go to Ireland and go into a prison in Ireland. So we toured the homeland of Blessed Edmund Rice, saw the holy sites, and we went into Clover Hill Prison. And it was really interesting to see the differences, how corrections is handled in other countries. At Clover Hill Prison, we had a chance to sit down with the captain of the guards. We sat down with him, and I noticed right away he didn't have mace. He didn't have handcuffs. He didn't have a vest on. And he's walking around the population. And I said, I can't help but notice you're not armed. And he goes, oh, I'm armed. I've got a very serious weapon. And I'm looking him over like, is he James Bond? Does he have like a pistol in a sock or something or whatever? And he pointed to his mouth. He said, I use my mouth as a weapon to talk down violence. I talk it down. And I thought that was a very serious lesson for us about how corrections can happen in a humane way. Not to say there aren't times when violent things happen and weaponry is needed or whatever, I get that. But if we can shift, if we can evolve to the point of nonviolence and teaching nonviolence and using our mouth not to criticize, but to praise, right? U2 has that great line, take this mouth so quick to criticize and give it a kiss, right? And so I appreciate that. And it was a wonderful opportunity. That stayed with me. And then the last thing I want to say is this, and then I'm going to call on a brother in blue to finish us out, is Emmett Till. Emmett Till's been in the news a lot lately. 1955, he calls a white woman baby in the South. He says, hey, baby. They grab him, they torture him, shoot him, throw his body in a swamp, right? Horrendous. Mom holds the funeral up in Chicago. And as Cornel West tells it, I love Cornel West, he tells the story far better than I could. When Mom had the funeral, she insisted on an open casket. And we all saw pictures of young Emmett Till, his face misshapen, grotesque. She wanted people to see that, see the underbelly of racism and what it was. And then she went to the microphone, a mom losing her son, right? And she said this, she said, I don't have a minute to hate. I don't have a minute to hate, but I'm going to pursue love and justice all the days of my life. And that was a great moral moment for our country when she said that. I don't have a minute to hate, but I'm going to pursue love and justice all the days of my life. So I hope in the spirit of Emmett Till's mother and the spirit of using our mouths constructively for peace purposes, that we all celebrate these men in blue and what they're doing in this good work and continue to grow it. With that said, any of the men in blue, if you could close this out, please. Any of our brothers in blue who are no longer in blue, returning citizens, God bless you. Jason, I see your hand.
Yeah, I have something to offer.
You bet.
One of my favorite quotes. It's an old African proverb. You want to go fast, go alone. You want to go far, go with others. And I want to share that because my first 10 years of incarceration, I thought I was doing good. I was working on my bachelor's degree. I was going really fast, focusing on me, focusing on what I needed to do for me. It wasn't until my last 10 years of incarceration with my brothers you see here, a lot of the brothers you see on the screen, that I understood the value, the tremendous value of working together with other people. Because that's when I really started going far in life, with other people who had shared commitments to do something good with their lives. So I want to thank all of you for participating in this call, and just really, for the guys inside, if you're able to see this, find other men and women and whoever that is working together to add value and beauty to this world, because we can go so much far together than we do alone. Thank you.
Until we meet again, thank you. From the bottom of my heart, thank you, thank you, thank you.